Okay, we are rolling.
All right, this is a home interview, Broad Albin, New York, 19th of September 2007, approximately 10:15 a.m. Interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Leonard LeRoy Crawford. I was born March 13th, 1927 in Amsterdam, New York.
Okay. What was your educational background prior to entering service?
Well, I was 2 months short of graduating from high school when I went into service at 17.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted because I didn't want to go in the Army. And I knew as soon as I got out of high school they would draft me.
So, was there a reason why you picked the Navy besides not wanting to go in the Army?
Yeah, prior to that, in high school, I was in a Navy organization they had similar to ROTC they have today. So I sort of went from there into the Navy.
Okay. Now, did you do any summer camps or anything while you were in high school with this group?
No, we had monthly meetings and learned flag sign, signs and that type of thing.
Did you wear uniforms or anything?
Yeah,
or?
we had a white shirt and blue pants and a Navy hat.
Now, what was your instructor? Was he a Navy person, ex-Navy?
Yeah, he was ex-Navy commander, as I remember, ship commander.
And this was in your high school?
No, this was sponsored by the church.
Oh, through the church.
Yeah.
Okay. How many boys were in this group?
We probably had 10 or 12 in the group.
Did everyone go in the Navy, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just curious. All right, do you remember where you were when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yes, I was home at the time, and I was downtown, as I remember, shopping with my mother, and it came over a loudspeaker that one of the stores had. And then everyone went into the street and started talking, back and forth.
Did you have any idea where Pearl Harbor was at the time?
I knew it was over in the Pacific. That was about the extent of it.
Okay. Now, when did you eventually go into the Navy itself?
I went in the fourth month, and I believe it was the 20th day of 45. So the war wasn't quite over yet. But I was at that age. If I wanted to win, I had to go in.
Now, you went to Sampson?
I went to Sampson for training up in Geneva, New York. Yeah.
Now, how long were you there?
I was there 10 weeks.
What was it like there?
Cold. It was in the spring of the year, and we had to stand guard duty outside in a little shack, and it got cold. The wind off the lake there really got to you.
Now, by that date, you had barracks. There were barracks there, and
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and a drill field, and yep.
what were some of the things you learned while you were at Sampson?
Well, we learned how to put out oil fires and how to swim, the length of a large pool. And I remember one instance where you had to climb a big ladder to a platform. I'm going to say it was probably 40 feet high, and then jump off into the water. And the kid in front of me didn't want to go, and they had this big rubber, like a baseball, not what am I thinking of? Volleyball on the end of a stick, and they just give him a whack and over he went, whether he wanted to go or not. Yeah, and just general, rifle type of setup that we had to do, and learn how to take care of our clothes and clean our boots. Everybody put Clorox on them so they would turn white, of course. Yeah.
What were the meals like there?
They were very good. Yeah, we had stuff on a shingle. I won't mention what they called it. And we had a regular chicken, and once we had turkey. So we had good meals and hamburgers.
Now, have you ever gone back to Sampson now that it's
no, I haven't, and I wish I could get there before I get too old. But I don't know if it's still there. Did they?
It's a state park now. The state
is it? Okay.
has a historical site there. They've opened a museum and so on.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. Yeah.
Okay, after you were in Sampson, where did you go?
I went to Newport, Rhode Island, pre-commissioning school. And I was there only about a week or two, and we caught a ship that went down to Norfolk and Newport News. The ship was built in Newport News, but it was commissioned in Norfolk, and we went down there and joined the ship for the commissioning. And
Now, what ship was that?
the USS Midway. And in those days they called it CVB 41. Now they call it CV 41. I think the V stood for vessel, and they dropped that.
Now, that's the commissioning of it up there?
Yes, that's the day they commissioned it.
Now, were you there that day?
Yes.
What was it like? What was the ceremony
Well,
like?
they had many dignitaries, and of course, and I can't remember if I believe the president was there at the time, and we all stood along the rail, and then they hit the chocks there, and down the ways it went, and luckily it floated when it hit the water.
Now, what were your duties on the ship? Were you on board before it was commissioned?
No, we went on the day it was commissioned.
Oh, okay, that was your first day on?
Yeah, so we just kind of hung around until the big event. Yeah.
Now, was there a shakedown cruise?
Yeah, we went to Trinidad for our shakedown cruise. And then from there we went to Guantanamo Bay and set out in the bay for a week. And then went back to Norfolk. And then from there we went up to the Arctic Ocean. We were conducting an experiment, I guess you'd call it. They had new engine heaters for the airplanes that they put a big tube up to the engine and started that up and blew hot air on it before they had flight operations. And we did that for about a week, and it was cold out there. And we saw the glaciers, and they were dropping down in the ocean like they still do today. It was quite an experience.
Now, what were your duties?
Well, I was working out of the radio room, and pardon me. I was striking for a radio man. In other words, I was taking these important messages as they came over the radio to the captain and the exec officer and 2 or 3 other officers. I'd I guess you'd call it a runner. I'd run between each one and get their signature, and then go back to the radio room and study for radio men. They taught me transmitters and like that as much as I could before I got discharged. So I was learning how to be a radio man.
Mm-hmm. Okay, where did you go after you were up in the Arctic?
We came back to New York City, and they had Navy Day in the harbor. We anchored in the harbor there, along with the Mighty Mo and 3 or 4 other big ships. And we sat there for, I think it was about 4 days, and then went back to Norfolk.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't soon after that, I remember, that I got discharged. You know, the war had ended, and I put in my 6 months. So I went to Lido Beach by train, and then I got discharged there and went on home.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was it like on the Midway while you were on it?
Well, they had flight operations quite a number of times, and I happened to sleep under the what do they call it there when they
Careful.
Yeah, the catapult. I was just one deck down, and every morning they had flight operations. That thing would go off about 5:30 in the morning. Man, we'd jump up out of the sack like a scared rabbit, because that thing was like a train. You know, that thing was really loud. And well, we had you know, card games, and I didn't do much more than radio things, you know. I'm trying to think. We didn't have any helicopters on the ship. That was before those days. And I toured about all of the ship. We had, I believe it was 6 decks, and every department was on a special deck, you know, a certain deck.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was trying to be a radioman there, and they didn't have any radios aboard, so I think it was down in Norfolk. I went ashore and bought a radio kit, and put it together and had it up in my bunk there, and at night I put the earphones on and listened to radio.
Now, where were you at when it was announced that Japan had surrendered?
I believe that we were in booths, because it was 6 months after that, and they let us out for Liberty for the day, and we went into town, and of course everybody was reveling and having a great time, and we spent the day in there in the evening, and then.
Now, what town was that?
I think it was around noontime or
No,
so.
what town?
Oh, that was Geneva.
Oh, you went into
yeah,
Geneva,
yeah,
okay.
we went into Geneva,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then came back. We went in by bus, and then they bussed us back out.
What was it like in the streets of Geneva?
Oh, everybody was hollering and screaming and carrying on, patting each other on the back, and having a great time. Yeah, and so it was 6 months after that, and I got out on them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, back to, that's when I got the ship, and so most of my career was in peacetime.
Mm-hmm.
But I had many good experiences on the ship.
Now you said that one of the funniest or most inspiring was when you were in the Arctic Sea. Why? What impressed you with that?
Well, what impressed me was the huge icebergs, and we saw polar bears on some of the ice floes. And then the fact that it was so cold, you'd have to really bundle up to even go out on the rail there, you know, to look around. But it was beautiful up there. It was really impressive.
Okay. Did you ever make use of the GI Bill after you got out?
No. Well, yes, I did. I bought a house on the GI bill, and I started to. I was going to take my last 2 months of high school, but it ended up that I went back to my original high school, and there were others like me there, so we had to spend 6 months instead of 2 months to get to graduate and get our diploma. But,
Did you ever use that 5220 club?
no, is that the real estate?
No, that was like an unemployment. You got $20 a week for 52 weeks.
No, I came out and I got a job pretty quick. As soon as I got out, I went to this factory and got hired, and so I don't think I ever used that.
Now your wife mentioned here that you saw dolphins.
Oh yeah, down in on the way to Trinidad. They would get to follow the bow of the ship, and we'd go up there and watch them off the bow, you know, and then we'd sometimes fish off the fantail, and one time we caught a big hammerhead shark, about 10 feet long.
What'd you do with that?
I let him back. We had a big hook on him, yanked and let him throw back overboard again.
Now there's something about a leave at Christmas time.
Yeah, I almost got a captain's mast for that. That was the first year I was in, and I was determined to go home. So I jumped on a bus and headed for New York.
Now where were you when you did this?
I was down in Norfolk, and headed home. Well, I got home all right, and had Christmas with the family. I only had a 48-hour leave, so I had Christmas with the family. Then I came back. Well, when I got back on a bus to Washington, D.C., they had a big snowstorm, about 2.5 feet. Well, we stopped right there. That was the end of the bus ride until the next morning. And so when I got back aboard ship, I was about an hour late, and they had taken checked out everybody there, and I wasn't there. So I got written up, of course. And so I went in front of the captain. I had a captain's mast. Man, I was scared silly. And I had my hat in my hand, and the captain says, well, why were you late? Well, I said, I went to see my sick aunt in Washington, D.C., and he kind of smirked, you know. He knew I was telling a fib. Well, he says, you know, you're only supposed to go 150 miles on a 48. Well, I says, that is a little further. I said, well, he says, don't let it happen again. I'm going to give you an easy off this time. So I avoided that one. But I was scared. I thought sure I was going to the break.
Now, did you join any veterans organizations at all?
Yeah, I joined the Veterans of Foreign War for a while there, and I was in the reserve after I got out, of
Oh.
course, for 6 months. And that was about it.
Are you active or in the American Legion or VFW at all? Have you?
No, I used to be, but lately I go to their functions, but that's about all. I don't.
Okay. Did you ever stay in contact with anyone that was in service with you?
No, I had about 5 good buddies, and all over the country. So I just never, got in contact with them. In fact, I can't remember some of their names.
All right. How do you think your time in the service had an effect or changed your life at all? Do you think it did?
Oh yeah, that makes a man out of you in a hurry, and gives you a sense of responsibility. And when you come out of there, you're pretty well set for life, as far as young men go. We always say they ought to have a mandatory a year in the service for all these kids out of high school, and then we wouldn't have so much trouble that we had.
Now, you had a captain that wanted you to sign up again?
No, he was a Lieutenant JG. He was the head of the division. And when I got my orders to get discharged, he came to me one day and wanted me to re-up and stay. He said, because you're more experienced than the ones coming on out of boots. He wanted me to teach him some of this radio stuff. But I had a girlfriend back home, you know how that goes, and being a family man type, and I said, nah, but I wished many times that I had done it.
Now, if you hold this up,
Okay.
now that was taken at Sampson, I see.
Yeah, this is a photograph of the class in Sampson, and I'm the one right there. Yeah.
Okay. Got it?
Now, would you explain what that is?
Okay, this is a plank owner certificate they give you, the original crew of the ship. And it was given to each member of the crew when it was commissioned. And this is an old Navy tradition that they give to original crew. Now, we had 4,500 men, and the ship was 45,000 tons. So at the time, it was the biggest ship going.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your interview.
Well, I hope I did all right there.
Yes, you did.
Was Joe Clark. His father was, I forgot his name,
Cuthbert.
Cuthbert. And he used to go to the Civil War. But he was married, Cuthbert was married, and he had expecting a baby. So Joe Clark went for him.
Oh, it was a substitute.
And he was killed, so they named my grandfather Joe Clark. And that's the uncle. I guess that would have been his uncle.
Now, do you know what unit he served in the Civil War?
Only what's
No, only the dates.
No, 61 to 65. No, I don't.
Okay. Well,
Now, who is the second person?
That's my grandfather. Came over from Ireland, and he joined the Civil War, and he was a landsman, which means he was in the Navy or in the Marines. If they needed him on land to fight, he would go on land. He had 3 ships that he served on, and at one point he fell overboard, and he must have got something in his lungs, because that's what he died from, edema, years later. I never knew him because he died before I was born.
Mhm.
But we have records of him. So
Now the third picture.
that's me in my outfit.
Now where was that one taken? Do you remember?
I don't remember where that was taken.
Mhm.
I think it was taken in Amsterdam after I got back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. How about the next one?
The next one was my daughter. She was in the Air Force and served at Sumter, South Carolina. Shaw? Is it Shaw Air Force
Mhm.
Base?
The date's on there. I don't know.
1988,
Oh, good. He's got
1988.
1986.
You could
there.
probably see him better.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Yep.
How about the Marine that's
Okay,
next?
the Marine, that's my son. He's been in 9 years, and he's stationed in Jacksonville. He's been over.
I'm getting a little glare. If you can just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Just. Okay, that's good. That looks good.
Is that good?
Yep.
He's stationed in Jacksonville, and he's been overseas to Kuwait and then a couple other
Mhm.
spots over there. And he's going to take training next month for being a recruiter out in San Diego.
And the final picture.
That's my grandson. He just went over to Iraq. He's lives in Naples, and he just got out of high school. And he's been home since for a couple of weeks, and then he went back again. So
He's in the Army.
he's in the Army. Mhm.
All right. Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
Okay,
he had to have been an officer to have a sash.
Really?
I
See,
would
and I don't
think.
know if in Virginia, we have Dad's one sister's left, and I don't know if she would know. She didn't even have a picture of Dad. Oh, I got his picture. No, that was my dad. That's not it. That's not what you. Leave behind.
all right.
This guy. Oh, it was on there, wasn't it?
You should- Yeah, I guess it was on there when you put it in.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Maybe we. I don't know if we can restore it in any way.
I don't think you.
I don't
I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
probably
so.
just really powdery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's got the tassels on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be very careful with that, because
Okay.
it is very fragile.
Okay.
I don't. Did you wrap it?
Yeah, I would find get some kind of acid-free box or container and put that in it, because you don't want any more damage to it than. Oh, you've got.
Well, I wrote what I knew. Yeah.
Okay.
Went to the Civil War for his brother. Yeah, see, I don't know
Okay.
anything other than that. And then me. Did
Okay.
you get it on there?
Yeah, pull the sword out
Okay.
if you
Well,
can.
wait. You want to take this?
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. That did come in.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Probably just a little rust on it.
Uh-huh.
Just hit it with some WD-40.
Okay.
Yeah, I got some on the garage.
Is it inscribed at all?
I can't read a mark.
What model sword is that, Mike?
Looks like it's an 1863. It's a cavalry. Or, yeah, cavalry.
Want me to make my glass? We got one handy here.
I don't see any makers.
It's probably hard to.
Oh, don't
So
watch your eye around the end of that.
Well, how would I store this now? I wonder.
I'll put it in an acid-free box or
Oh,
something.
hold on.
The scab, that you put in an acid-free box. This would, I'd just put back in there
Okay.
and just wrap it around.
Or else, if you got for the time being, like if you got like a clear plastic bag, just put that in there until you can.
Till we get a.
Yeah.
Where would I get something like that?
What's their names?
Like AC Moore.
Office Max or
Oh, okay. I'm going down to a
Home, not Home Depot. The
UPS today.
Staples?
Staples.
Staples,
Staples
yeah.
carries them.
Okay. Staples.
I can't find any markings at all.
Hmm.
Usually there's a maker's mark down here.
Oh. The light's not very good here.
I don't see anything.
Could it have been like a German-made copy, or?
It might have been, during the war they did make a lot of Solinger German blades, and you can see something. But I think if you're going to have to use WD-40 on this. Don't use a Brillo pad or seal wheel or anything. Just use a cloth with WD-40 to clean this up. Don't polish the metal up because, again, people will be frowning at. I'd put a little something on here.
Because that's leather.
That's leather. See that should have been all the way down. That's missing. This little chain.
Oh, that little, okay.
But it's still in
You can see
excellent
where it
condition.
was,
Yes,
the
yes.
indentation, yeah.
It's still in excellent condition. Don't
Okay.
polish this up at all.
Oil is okay for all of it.
Yeah, I'd use some kind of oil just to.
But don't use oil on the leather.
No,
Use
no.
like a like a leather
Yeah,
preservative.
they're.
Okay. We make 3-in-1.
Well, on the leather, I would use maybe even some clear, like a shoe polish or
Yeah.
something with a lanolin in it.
Okay.
I can't see
We'll have to do
anything.
that up.
There is some lettering here, but I think if you cleaned it up, maybe you'd see it more.
Mm-hmm. It was a couple of 100 years old.
Yeah, there is a name on this side, but I can't read it at all.
Well, if we find out, we'll let you know.
And I'd rub the blade because it is starting to rust inside of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You could even squirt some WD-40
down
down
there.
inside there. Yeah,
Good.
and then let it drain it.
Yeah, I'm not going
drain
to
out.
push it anymore.
Okay.
It's starting to stick.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah,
We'll work on
and this.
it.
Yeah. Very carefully unwrap that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll put that in
Yeah.
a plastic bag or.
Well, acid-free. You got it for this
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
because
So I
There
take it
would've
right
been-
off of here and put it in
yes,
the bag.
yes.
There would have been 2 of those tassels, and one of
Aw.
them is gone.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
But just to
a couple
have
ends.
one is.
Yeah.
And
Both
I'll
of those
see
have tassels.
what I can find for you about him.
About him. Did we write it down?
Oh, you do have something.
You know, you're getting all this on tape too.
Well, that's
Married to.
you don't have the unit or anything.
This is all the way down to my son,
Mhm.
my Marine.
So he died. Okay, his name is okay. Yeah,
Typhoid fever he had.
yeah. But you don't have anything about what unit he served in. I'll have to see if I can find out at the museum.
Here.
Shall I?
Yeah, if he was an officer, he'd be in Fisters. We'd be able to
Yeah,
find that.
and he'll be in the muster rolls. We've got the muster rolls at work. So.
Okay, I will stop this.